All right, everyone, welcome back to another flight going from Torrance up to Death Valley. So what that means is yet another opportunity for us to spend some time together and talk about things as I make my way up north, pretty much straight north, give or take. Nice and hot out, showing 34 Celsius here. Probably be a little warmer up in Death Valley. Otherwise, beautiful weather, and weather looks good here and there in terms of winds and all those stuff. Should be a good flight, and happy you're here. Come along, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Here we go. All right, here we go. Okay, fuel pump comes on. There's fuel flow. There we go. Quarter inch. All right, let's get her started. Just like that, nice and easy. Starts right up. Alrighty, there we go. Looks good. Fuel selector, both cowl flaps are open. Trims both set for takeoff. There we have it, and get the rudder trim. Alright, prop forward, make sure it's lean.
Go 421 Delta Kilo is clear to the right, taxi to transient.
1 Delta Kilo, 20 down, transient taxi via Charlie Alpha Foxtrot. How long are you saying?
About half an hour.
All right.
Roger. Charlie Alpha Foxtrot, you're going to look for blue squares at the base of the tower, just northeast of the tower.
Right. 421 Delta Kilo, roger.
All right, we'll be doing LA special flight rules, and we'll talk about that. So there's 110.8 Santa Monica, and we'll get our course. Let's see, so that's 312. So we'll get our course to 312, which is the reciprocal of the 132 radio. So the autopilot will track inbound towards the Santa Monica VOR. So 312, I got 2855 on the standby of COM 1. I got 4,500 feet on the altitude. And I have Santa Monica plugged in right over here. And we'll talk about special flight rules. I'll actually get 1201 in here right now. Can't hurt if Torrance Tower knows what I'm headed to, what I'm doing. And there we go. All looks good. All right, AC's good. Everything's good. All right, you guys, welcome aboard, and let's make it happen.
Torrance ground, ready to stand by.
There's Torrance ground. Let's get the ATIS.
Use caution work in progress, chase all runway taxiways. Noise abatements in effect prohibiting pad work, including taxibacks. As this web major California coastal wise available flight service frequencies. Feedback all runway assignments, hold short instructions with the call sign, advise and contact you, have uniform. Torrance Airport Aviation uniform, time 2156, Zulu, wind 240 at 12, gust 20, visibility 10, fuel clouds at 16,000. Temperature 26, 2.12, altimeter 2988. ILS approach runway 29 right, use landing and departing runway 29. Notice air emissions, 5G nodes are in effect. Multiple cranes in the vicinity of Torrance. Multiple TFRs in effect for the vicinity of LAX and surrounding areas. You got to check NOTAMs and contact flight service for more information. Torrance Tower frequency 133.07. Use caution productivity on city airport. Use caution work in progress, chase all runway taxiways. Noise abatements in effect prohibiting pad work, including taxibacks. As this web major California coastal wise available flight service frequencies. Feedback all runway assignments, hold short instructions with the call sign, advise and contact you, have uniform.
Uniform. Torrance ground, good afternoon, station air 1215 Golf. Over at the East Tees looking to taxi with uniform.
Golf, Torrance ground, runway 29 right, taxi via Juliet.
29 right, taxi via Juliet, 1215 Golf. All right. Clear right and clear left. Looks like I'm the only one here in the run-up. Beautiful day. Just hot. Summer's coming on. Go all the way to the corner. Give other people some room. There we go. All right, autopilot, and I could override it. Looks good. And here comes the mixture, and here comes the power. 1800. There we are. Okay, vacuum looks good. System is charging, and here we go. 1850. All right, 90, 130, both within 175 and 50 of each other. Back to both. Pitot heats off. Vacuum looks good. And here we go, we'll do an idle check. As expected, the alternator is struggling to charge the system. Good idle check, back to 1,000. We'll lean the mixture. There we go. All right. Perfect. Okay, so on today's flight, we'll do a normal takeoff off of runway 29 right. Any abnormalities prior to rotation, we'll go ahead and cut the power, stop straight ahead, taxi off the runway. Anything after rotation with runway ahead of us to land back on, we'll cut the power and land straight ahead. And if there's no runway ahead of us to land back on, we'll go ahead and put the plane down pretty much straight ahead unless I'm high enough where I can guarantee a glide back to the airport environment. Otherwise, time permitting, I'll declare an emergency, squawk 7700, and then try and avoid obstacles best I can. I feel good, plane feels good, doors are shut, air conditioning's working, and here we go. We'll head up to LA Special Flight Rules, and if you want to follow along, if you have ForeFlight, if you go to Documents, let me get out of here. If you go to Documents, and then you go to FAA, and then you go all the way down to Visual Chart Supplemental, and then you can see a bunch of stuff here. You can go to Los Angeles TAC Supplemental, and you could scroll through the various LA Class Bravo transitions, and go to LA Los Angeles Special Flight Rules area, and you could actually read along and see what we're talking about. Pretty simple. I got 2855 will be our sort of CTAF frequency, if you want to think of it that way, where we're announcing our position to other pilots. We'll be tracking the 132 radial of the Santa Monica VOR inbound. Otherwise, if you go southeastbound, you're tracking that radial outbound. 4,500 feet because we're headed northwestbound. Otherwise, you'd be 3,500 coming southeastbound. And we'll be squawking 1201. Otherwise, they don't want us exceeding 140 knots indicated through LA Special Flight Rules. And that's about that.
Lawrence Ground, Cirrus 1963.
Follow along. We'll make some radio calls. We'll make some radio calls along these red flags. And should be good. Here we go.
Alpha 63 Mike.
All right, there's Torrance Tower, clear left. All right. Torrance Tower, good afternoon, Station Air 1215 Golf, short of 29 right, right down departure.
Station Air calling, Sierra, call sign again.
1215 Golf.
Station Air 15 Golf, Roger, standby. That's now 19 Hotel, turn left on Charlie, contact ground.
Left on Charlie, contact ground 19 Hotel.
Number 2 Romeo Whiskey, your descents approved, runway 29 left, clear to land, wind 270 at 11.
Turn Whiskey, clear to land, 29 left.
That's now 01 Hotel, frequency change approved, cadet. And November 15 Golf, you want it straight out, you said?
Right downwind for 15 Golf.
Number 15 Golf, right downwind, departure approved, runway 29 right, skip takeoff, wind 270 at 16.
All right, 29 right, clear for takeoff, 1215 Golf. Fuel selector both,
Torrance
valve
Tower,
flaps
Lancer
open.
100 Charlie
Trims
with
both
you at
set
the
for
harbor.
takeoff. I got my prop
Lancer
forward, the mixture
10
4
Charlie,
here,
Torrance
flaps
Tower,
10.
runway 29 right.
Final looks
Clear to
clear,
land, wind
and
270
lights are
at
all
15.
on. Here we go.
Clear to land 29 right, 100 Charlie.
All right, here comes the power. Nice and easy. There's takeoff power set. Maintain center line.
Torrance Tower, Cessna 757 Victor Bravo 2000
Up 75,
over the
positive rate of
harbor
climb,
and down
flaps
29
come up.
right with uniform.
Cessna 757 Victor Bravo, Torrance Tower, make straight in, runway 29 right. You'll be number 2 following a Lancer on a 3-mile final, runway 29 right, clear to land.
Shoot on right for the Lancer, Victor Bravo, number 2 following Lancer, thank you.
Number 7 Victor Bravo, did you want 29er left? I thought I heard 29er left.
29 right, 7 Victor Bravo, please.
7 Victor Bravo, roger, runway 29er right, clear to land.
29 right for the Lancer, Victor Bravo, thank you.
All right, here comes the turn.
November 2 Romeo Whiskey, contact ground, good day.
Contact ground, 2 Whiskey, thanks.
Torrance Tower, Cherokee 2269 Quebec is tracking the localizer into 29 right.
Cherokee 2269 Quebec, Torrance Tower, reduce your speed. You are number 3 following a Cessna 2 miles ahead of you.
Reduce speed, number 3, behind a Cessna 2 miles ahead, 69 Quebec.
Number 69 Quebec, traffic 1 o'clock, 2 miles southbound, 1,800 indicated, type and intentions unknown.
Lurking.
Number 69 Quebec, just expedite descent to 1,500 for that traffic just ahead to your right, about a half mile.
Expediting descent to 1,500 for traffic, 69 Quebec.
All right, here we go. Coming up on 2,000 for 4,500. And you guys could already see visually the 132 radial happens to be slightly to my left as it crosses right over the LAX runways. Based on here, my CDI is showing that to my left. So I'll be turning left anyway. I'll probably overshoot it because I'm really coming up on it. And then I'll come back around and
Charlie,
intercept
turn
it.
left on Charlie, contact ground, good day.
Left on Charlie, over to ground, 100 Charlie, good day.
Cherokee 69 Kilo or Quebec.
All right, we're outside their airspace.
Factor
I'll go ahead and
2003.
switch to LA Special Flight Rules. And we'll be turning left here in a moment to track that all the way to Santa Monica. And again, if you want to follow along like we talked about on the ground, if you have ForeFlight, you could go into Documents, and then you could go to FAA, and then scroll down, Visual Chart Supplemental, and then Los Angeles TAC Supplemental, and then find Los Angeles Special Flight Rules area, and we could follow along right there. All the information is there. Really easy peasy. Here's 3,000. I'll go ahead and turn left now, because I believe I'll be able to make it to Imperial Highway, or even before that, well before that, to 4,500 feet. All looks good. There we are. There we go. Now I don't have to. I'm not currently at a waypoint where I should or need to make a call, but I'm on frequency, and I'm heading up towards LA Special Flight Rules. So I'll go ahead and give people a heads up where I'm at, and that I'm heading up there, so they could look out for me. So here we go. I'm 5 to the south. LA Special Flight Rules, White Cessna. It's 5 to the south of Imperial Highway, coming up on climbing to 4,500 feet, currently crossing 3,700, heading northwestbound, LA Special Flight Rules. So now if someone else is heading from a distance, maybe they just departed Long Beach or whatever that might be, then they have an idea of where I'm at, what am I doing, and so on and so forth. So as expected, I overshot that radial just a little bit because I was right on it, but I'm on a heading right now, accounting for the 15 knots, 14 knots of crosswind, where I'll intercept it, and then the needle will center, and I'll track it all the way through towards Santa Monica. As with anything, as always, if you are sticking with the VOR radial, with a legit VOR, as we know, as you get closer to the station, it'll get a little confused and erratic. So once you have it lined up and centered, heading towards the station, just stick it on heading. If you are using autopilot, don't go to nav, or you could go to nav, but just keep that in mind. As you get closer to it, it will become a little bit erratic. So here we go, I'm turning right slowly to intercept it. I don't want to turn too fast. I want to sort of take my time and creep towards it. There's 4,500 feet. There's LAX right in front of me. I'll go ahead and cruise her out here. And I'll be looking to make sure I'm not exceeding 140 indicated. I am squawking 1201. I am on frequency. I am 4,500 feet. And all looks good. There we go. Needles coming in. And coming up here in a little bit, my first waypoint to make a call, looking at the document here, looks like it's Imperial Highway, which is right there just south, just on the tip, on the southeast tip of runway 25 left at LAX. So there's the needle. I'm turning right now. I do have a 5-knot left crosswind, so that should do the trick right here. We'll see what that looks like. So needle's intercepted on 4,500 feet. On 4,500 feet, tracking the 132 radial to the Santa Monica VOR. I have it set to the 312 course, but that's just the reciprocal of the 132. And I'm on frequency. I'll make my first call here in a moment, and I'm squawking 1201. So here we go. This is the first. As you can see, that first red flag coming from the south is Imperial Highway, and it is literally to the southeast on that tip of the 25 left runway at LAX, which I see right out my window right here. So I'm pretty much heading right towards it, and you guys can see here as well. Here's the runways, here's 25 left, and I'm heading right towards it. And I'll make my first call there. I could even make a call right now saying that I'm an X amount to the south of it, so let's call that 4 miles. LA Special Flight Rules, White Cessna is 4 miles to the south of Imperial Highway, heading north, westbound 4,500 feet. LA Special Flight Rules. Again, as always, you don't want to make a call every second, but the more you let other people know where you're at, what you're doing, the more.
LA Special Flight Rules, Cherokee 4390 Sierra, 4,500, northbound, about 5 miles south of LAX.
There you go. So that's this one right here. And the only reason I know that is because I heard what they're saying. 4,500, 5 miles to the south of LAX. This plane right here is my direction, same altitude behind me. They made a radio call. Who knows if they made that radio call just because they heard me, so they wanted to give me a heads up. So keep that in mind. The more situational awareness you can give to yourself and others around you, the better, the safer. So here we go. Needle is centered. I do have that 9-knot left crosswind, so I'll just creep a little bit into the left to get that needle perfectly centered. But keep in mind,
LA Special Flight Rules, Saratoga 83Q Lima is 17 miles west at 3,500 feet. Special Flight Rules, about 6 minutes southeastbound.
I love that radio call just happened. He's 17 miles and he's letting people know he'll be here in 6 minutes. So that's beautiful, right? Maybe that's a little overkill, but I love it. I'd rather people do that than not talk. So that's awesome. I love that radio call just happened. Now, for those of you who are freaking out, what if I'm a little bit off the 132 radio? Let me just make my call here for the Imperial Highway. LA Special Flight Rules, White Cessna is 4,500 over Imperial Highway, heading north to westbound, LA Special Flight Rules. So if you're freaking out, what if I'm not on the 132 radio? Well, if you look at the sheet here for Los Angeles Special Flight Rules area, on the top right, it says lateral limits. And you can see here, it extends from the east to the west, or from the west to the east, from the Pacific Ocean shoreline, which is right over here, all the way to San Diego Freeway, which is on the other side of Los Angeles Airport. So pretty much, in other words, you can be anywhere from the ocean to the freeway, San Diego Freeway, which is to the east of LAX, and you're good. You're in Special Flight Rules. So they write down and they want you to track the 132, but you could be, if there's a slow plane going through special flight rules, you can overtake them. So don't be worried about being a little bit off the 132 radial. And then from north to south, it's Manchester Boulevard down to Imperial Highway. So pretty cool how they give you all the information here. Really, really easy to interpret. Then on the top left, you have the altitude. Let me just make a call. LA Special Flight Rules, White Cessna's 4,500, heading northwestbound over LAX, LA Special Flight Rules. And then we have the altitude on the top left showing southeasterly, 3,500 feet, and northwesterly, which we're doing right now, 4,500. It shows you the VOR Santa Monica frequency, 110.8, which we have plugged in. And then
LAX Special Flight Rules, Cherokee 4390 Sierra, 4,500, about 2 miles south of LAX, northbound.
There we go. And then you could read on the bottom the notes, and it shows you there you don't want to exceed 140 knots. And then it tells you to squawk 1201 prior to entering and while operating in the area, the beacon code. So really, really straightforward. Don't be intimidated by LA Special Flight Rules. It's a phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal tool to have in your back pocket as a pilot, especially when operating in the Southern California area. LA Special Flight Rules, White Cessna's 4,500 over Bologna Creek, heading northwestbound, LA Special Flight Rules. There we go. And then coming up is Santa Monica right in front of my window, right over here. And we'll go ahead and make the call. So we can see here, my track vector is literally touching the Santa Monica VOR right there. There it is. And so that's what we're headed towards. As we get closer, as we discussed, you'll see here the needle gets a little bit confused as we continue and fly directly over the VOR, which is fine. We're on heading mode, and we're good to go. But again, as we talked about, the lateral limits are all the way from the ocean to the freeway. So pretty much the entire span of LAX, the width of LAX airport. Width or length? I guess it would be length, if you think of the runways that way. So here we go, coming up on Santa Monica. And this is all there is to it. Once you're done with Special Flight Rules, you make your last call, you could squawk VFR. The big thing I'll tell you, and this is something to keep in mind, LAX Class Bravo shelf right here, which overlies this entire area all the way to Calabasas, begins at 5,000 feet. Right now we're at 4,500 going through LA Special Flight Rules. Let me just make a call and I'll finish this thought. LA Special Flight Rules, White Cessna's 4,500 over Santa Monica, heading northwestbound, last call, LA Special Flight Rules. It's very...
Special Flight Rules, Saratoga 83Q Lima, 6 miles west of Santa Monica, 3,500 inbound.
That's this guy right there.
The southeast bound in the Special Flight Rules corridor in a couple minutes.
That's that guy. So...
And looking for the traffic.
It is so easy to get done with LA Special Flight Rules, then raise your ceiling and say, okay, let's climb up to my cruise altitude. Remember, Class Bravo is sitting right above us over here until 5,000 feet, all the way to here. So you have about 4 minutes of flying time before you are out of the Bravo. The other thing is, right up here, if you continue along the trajectory of the 132 radial, you should be just scraping the west side of Burbank Class Charlie. Another thing to keep in mind, if you go straight north or even just keep doing what we're doing, if the wind is strong enough, it could drift you into Burbank.
Flight Rules, Cherokee 4390 Sierra, just over the south complex of LAX, 4,500 northbound.
It could drift you into Burbank, so just keep that in mind. You want to be cognizant when you're done with Special Flight Rules, where you're going, what you're doing. And for that reason, I'll go ahead and turn even more to the left here to avoid that at least until I get on with approach control, established two-way radio communication, which I can hopefully fly direct to my destination. I should be able to fly through Burbank. Hopefully they'll clear me through the restricted as we get closer to Death Valley. So there we have it. That's LA Special Flight Rules for us. Nothing complicated. Once you do it once, it's like a roller coaster ride. You want to do it again and again and again. It's really, really, really easy. But more than anything, it's unbelievably convenient. Again, especially if you're operating here in the Southern California area. So I hope you guys learned something on this video. Again, the LA Special Flight Rules.
Saratoga 83Q Lima is 1.5 miles west of Santa Monica, 3,500. The Special Flight Rules, southeast bound to Torrance, squawking 1201.
Alright, LA Special Flight Rules, Super Cap on Alpha Charlie. We're northbound 4,500 feet, coming up on the refinery, and LA Special Flight Rules.
To find it, as we talked about a moment ago, documents, FAA, all the way down to visual chart supplemental, and then Los Angeles tax supplemental, and you should see it right there. Really, really, really easy, simple, and it's a phenomenal tool. So there you guys have it, LA Special Flight Rules.
Special Flight Rules, Cessna 172 Bravo Romeo, White Cessna, 5 miles north of Santa Monica Airport at 3,500, heading southeast bound. LA Special Flight Rules.
LA Special Flight Rules, Saratoga H3, Kilo Lima, 3,500, southeast bound Special Flight Rules coming up on Bologna Creek.
LAX Special Flight Rules, Cherokee 439 Sierra, 4,500, northbound, just over the north complex of LAX.
North complex of LAX.
LA Special Flight Rules, Saratoga H3, Kilo Lima, south complex, 3,500, looking for the traffic.
All right, done with LA Special Flight Rules. Here we go.
Picture 175, contact approach 134.2.
34.2, see a big ship 175.
Go up to 9,500. And approach, good afternoon, station air 1215 Golf, just out of Special Flight Rules. Let's go, flight level change.
Who's calling?
Station air 1215 Golf, just out of Special Flight Rules, coming up on west of Bourbon, about 5 miles to the southwest of Van Nuys. Looking for flight following up to Trona, Lima 72.
Yeah, tray 134.2, 34.2.
34.2, thanks, 1215 Golf.
SoCal departure, Global 181 Charlie Lima, 2,500 on the Walker 4 up to 4,000.
181 Charlie Lima, SoCal departure, your radar contact, climb and maintain 13,000.
181 Charlie Lima, climb maintain 13,000.
And 1 Charlie Lima, turn right heading 320.
181 Charlie Lima, right turn heading 320.
And approach, good afternoon, station air 1215 Golf.
1215 Golf, go ahead.
Yeah, we're approximately 5 to the southwest of Van Nuys, 5,000 climbing 9,500, looking for a flight following over to Trona, Lima 72, and we're a Cessna 206 flank Golf.
One 1215 Golf, squawk 4613.
4613, 1215 Golf.
Station 175, going to proceed right Silex for now, and intercept localized. Also have that visual approach plan a little bit closer.
Okay, direct Silex for now, big ship 175.
All right, he should get back to me in a second, say radar contact. There is a plane my altitude to my right climbing. We're both climbing actually, so we'll see what they'll be doing here.
1 Charlie Lima, when able, proceed right Walker, resume with navigation.
1 Charlie Lima, direct Walker, on nav.
1215 Golf, your radar contact 8 miles southwest of Van Nuys, and VFR climb to 9,500 approved.
Position checks and VFR climb approved, 1215 Golf, thanks. All right, here we go. We'll be turning right here in a moment.
175, descend to maintain 5,000.
Down to 5,000, big trip 175.
Southwest 2840, continue present heading vectors for sequence number 3 to the field.
Present heading, Southwest 2840.
There we go. Plane will turn right here in a second.
181 Charlie Lima, contact departure 128.75.
Temperatures look good. 29 inches,
148.75.
2,400 RPM, 20 gallons an hour on the fuel. And all looks good. Looks like we're trimmed. We have flight following and we're underway. We are on the way. All is good in the hood. There we
Station
go.
175, you're cleared visual approach runway 8, cross Van Nuys at 3,000.
Cross Van Nuys, out above 3,000, clear for the visual 8, big shape 175.
1215 Golf, contact approach 128.75.
2875, 1215 Golf.
181 Charlie Lima, SoCal approach, roger. Higher free momentarily.
Charlie Lima.
At approach station air 1215 Golf, 6,000 climbing 9,500.
1215 Golf approach, traffic 2 miles up position northbound, 9,000 heavy Airbus.
Looking for traffic 1215 Golf. He said northbound, but I see a heavy Airbus to my right heading eastbound.
2499, proceed direct to
This one right
Hazel and
here.
resume the departure.
Unless he's talking about
Direct
something
now,
else.
resuming the departure south of 2499.
No, he's talking about this one right here. What did he say?
From 1 Charlie Lima, expect, so you proceed direct to Brick.
Probably this
proceed
one
direct to
here.
Brick, resume the departure, maintain 15,000.
21 Charlie Lima, direct Brick, rejoin the Walker 4, climb maintain 15,000, still 250 miles.
That was 2499, maintain follow up 230, contact Los Angeles Center 125.8.
230, 258, southwest 2499, we'll see ya.
2499, we'll see ya. All right. He was probably talking about the plane that's to my left.
Number 15 Golf, what's going to be your on course heading?
Pretty much this one right here, 15 Golf.
15 Golf, ready.
Yeah, that restricted has been hot lately, and so I'm headed straight to Mojave right now, then I'll cut northeastbound to the northwest side of the restricted area.
Number 1 Charlie Lima, contact Los Angeles Center 125.8.
181 Charlie Lima, Los Angeles 125.8, so long.
125.8.
Center 4 heavy, climbing 14,000 and contact Los Angeles Center 125.8.
14,000, 125.8, pin 4 heavy, good.
All right, what I want to talk about now, as we're making our way up to 9,500 feet here, which will be our cruise altitude on our flight, let's talk a little bit about, not anything too in-depth, but just a little bit about the general generic electrical system found in general aviation airplanes. So if you're starting out, if you're new to flight training, if you're currently training to get your private, like me, when you stepped into an airplane for the first time, the electrical field, electricity is not my strong suit, or hasn't been, I should say.
Okay, good afternoon,
and it was
1620, we're out of 12, descending on the rocker.
It was literally Chinese to me. It was completely foreign. You talked to me about alternators and batteries, and it was just beyond confusing. But as time went on, and you spend more and more time in these airplanes, and you study them, and you turn on and off switches, and you see what happens, you sort of get an idea for not only how it works, but how similar it all is from one general aviation plane to the next. So let's talk a little bit about the few buttons there, or switches, found to the left here. In this specific airplane, it's a Cessna 206, we have a standby battery. Some airplanes don't have a standby battery. Some airplanes have 2 batteries. If you look at Cirruses, if you look at Cessnas, but here we have a standby battery, and that's this red switch over here. That's this red switch. So this red switch has 3 positions on it. That's the standby battery. And the 3 positions, the first one is in the middle, is off. And when it's off, it's just offline. The second one is test on the bottom here. And what that does is actually it lets you know, it's part of the pre-flight, and it's the way for the pilot to go ahead and verify before you go fly whether or not your standby battery is healthy enough in order for it to be able to hold your hand in the event that you are done or completely drained the main battery and you need the assistance or the help of the standby battery to feed the system a little bit. And the way we do that is we hold down that red switch towards the test position, and a green light right here next to the test turns on. And we hold it down for 10 seconds. And that's basically the way for us, the pilots, to verify that the system has enough juice, if you will, and is healthy enough in order for us to conduct our flight, and being able to confidently know that our standby battery is there if we need it. So what that looks like is this. And by the way, right now, I have alternators, I have a main battery, and I have a standby battery.
1620 approach 134.2.
And so I have the alternator charging the system, the main battery, and I have the main battery.
15 Golf, approach 124.6, 246.
24.6, 125 Golf.
That was 1904, climbing King Flight level 230.
And approach, good afternoon, Station Air 1215 Golf, 8,300, climbing 9,500.
Station Air 1215 Golf, SoCal approach, Roger, Burbank altimeter 2987.
87, 1215 Golf. There we go. So, we have an alternator charging the battery, we have a battery feeding the system, we have a standby battery in the event that we need to, that we drain the main battery and now we need a little bit of help from our standby battery. So, in our case, we have everything working, everything's good.
Climbing 4,000.
But, in a little bit, I'll be turning off some switches here. I'll be turning off some switches so you guys can see for yourself what happens and how the system reacts and what indications can you expect to see in the cockpit in the event that you had an alternator failure, in the event that your main battery is drained, in the event that your standby battery. What if you lost, here's an interesting question, what if we lost our standby battery right now? So we're flying along, our alternator and main battery are working just fine, but our standby battery, for whatever reason, we lost it. Would we have an indication? That's an interesting question, right? I'd want to know that. And this actually goes back to what I talk about often is, when you sit in your plane next, just turn switches on and off and see what your plane does. Get intimately familiar with it. So let's, off the bat, test that and see what happens. So right now I have the standby battery on arm. And arm basically means that if we lose the main battery and the alternators, we will automatically transfer and utilize our standby battery. It's armed. It's just like, think of the ELT being armed right over there. It's a similar thing. It just puts it in a position where it will automatically, its juice will be drawn automatically in the event that we need it. But let's go to an experiment. Let me go to turn that standby battery off and see if I see anything here, meaning if I lost it in flight and it's no longer armed, would I have an indication? So let's go and take a look. So right now it's armed and I'm moving it to off. There it is. It's in the off position and I'm looking. I don't hear anything. I don't see anything. My system right here, the electrical system, still looks really, really good, right? My main bus, my essential bus, 28 volts, really healthy, and my alternator's charging. Everything's looking really, 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 really good. I don't hear anything and I don't see anything. So now I know that if I lost my standby battery, I probably wouldn't know it unless I went ahead and tried an test it, and the light wouldn't come on. Or it wouldn't hold on for 10 seconds. Or, even worse, if I didn't do that and I drained my main battery, we'd get to the standby and there wouldn't be anything there for us. So, just something to keep in mind. So let's go and put it back to the arm position right there. And again, putting it back to the arm, we still don't see anything. So really, there's no indication that comes up on the screen to let me know whether it's on or offline. There we go, we reached our cruise altitude. All looks good. There we are. System looks good. And we're trimmed. And we could zoom out. We could close our cowl flaps in a little bit when the CHDs here drop a little further. Once they reach 400, we'll close the cowl flaps. And looks like the computer's calling 44 minutes left to our flight to Toronto. There we go. Okay, so we turned off the standby battery. I didn't see any indication, and I put it back to arm. Now let me show you real quick what testing it looks like. So when you show up to do your pre-flight, what are we actually looking for to remain on for 10 seconds? So I hope the camera could see it here with my position. So if I go one down, now that's off. But if I hold it down, check it out. You see that green light over there? I'm holding it down. You have to hold it down because if I let go, look at that. It goes back to off. So I'm holding it down and I want to make sure that it stays on for 10 seconds, this green test light. Once it does, I flip it to the top, to the arm position. And that's a normal flying procedure. So you show up, that's part of your pre-flight. And now we made sure that the standby battery, in the event that we need to use it, not only is armed, meaning it will be drawn, its juice will be drawn automatically in the event that we drained our main battery, but that it has enough juice to help us. So we tested it and we armed it. So both those things are taken care of. So a few things we verified here. If we lose it, I won't have an indication. The way I test it is hold it down for 10 seconds, make sure that green light stays on, and once I verified that, I'm happy. I can go ahead and flip it to the arm position, and now it's in the arm position and we're good to go. Now, following that red, or this little standby battery switch, right under it here to the left is our red master switches. And I call it master switches because there's two switches in there. There's a right one and a left one. I don't know if you guys can see right here.
Contacted. Joshua approach 124.55.
2455. Have a good day, sir. 125 Golf.
455.
Aircraft calling up, coming in very broken, unreadable.
Broken, unreadable. And approach, good afternoon, stationary 1215 Golf, level 9,500.
Stationary 1215 Golf, Joshua Approach, Roger, Palm Dog Cinders 29089er.
29089er, 1215 Golf. There we go.
15 Golf traffic, 3 o'clock, about 5 miles northwestbound, is a flight of 2, Bonanzas, 8,500.
Roger, look at the traffic, 15 Golf.
November 69 Whiskey, traffic 9 o'clock, 5 miles northeastbound, stationary 9,500.
Yeah, 69 was too good looking.
All right, that's taken care of. Temperatures are coming down. We'll get the cowl flaps here in a moment. Okay, so we have two switches here, master switches, the red ones. And if you can see here, the left one is alternator, and then the right one is battery. So we have two. We have an alternator and a battery. So back to what we talked about a moment ago. There's the temperatures are good. I'll close the cowl flaps, gain a few knots here in ground speed. So back to the engine page. Right here is basically our electrical on the EIS, is our electrical indication. So it tells us about the electrical system, the health of our electrical system and what things look like. So right now it's showing me there's pluses, right? So the alternators are charging the battery. So we're good. According to what we said a moment ago, we have an alternator that charges the battery, we have a battery that is being charged by an alternator, and then we have a standby battery, which will automatically be providing us electrical power for not that long, in the event that we lost, obviously, an alternator and our main battery. So what that means is, we experimented with the standby battery. We saw what that looks like if we lose it or if we turn it off. But if we lost an alternator, meaning our main battery is healthy, it's good, but let's say we lost our alternator. I'm curious, what indication would we get, if any? How would we know that? What will we be looking for? What will you be looking for in the event that you lost an alternator? And what would that ultimately do to our battery? So it's just like your iPhone. If your iPhone is plugged into the power outlet, and you're using your iPhone heavily, or a laptop, right? Think of a laptop as better. While using your laptop and imposing a load on it, if I disconnected your laptop from the power outlet, you could continue doing the work on your laptop that you were doing up to that point. But what would happen is that within a given amount of time, depending how big your battery is, you will run out of power, and you no longer will be able to. You'll lose your electrical system. You no longer will be able to use your laptop. In our case, if you think of the plane as a laptop, you could imagine a small little standby battery near your laptop, and if you have it in the arm position, it will automatically provide power to the laptop once the main batteries deplete. So in our case, if we turn off the alternator, what would we see? So let's go ahead and take away, we'll turn off the thing that charges our battery. And let's go ahead and see what that does. So like we said, that would be the left switch over here. And I want you to keep your eyes right over here once I turn that off. So here we go. Let's go ahead and turn that off and see what happens. So here's the alternator, and I turned just that half off. We don't hear anything. There's no oral anything. And then here, look at this. Our volts drop of the system, so it's 24.7, 24.6. And then look at this. Our main bus is discharging 26.5 amps. Look at that, 26.5 amps, and it turns yellow. So it could catch your eye nice and quick. So if you're flying along and you see a yellow thing down here, the electrical little corner there on the bottom, that's a really good indication to maybe look at your circuit breakers, or maybe accidentally hit that switch, or you just happen to lose your alternator. Whatever it might be. So it turns yellow, and obviously, as anticipated, we see a discharge. Now we'll bring it back on, and let's see what happens. Boom, it's charging the system. We get a huge positive plus, and we have our buses 28 volts, nice and healthy. And obviously, the amount that it's charging is decreasing, because now it's equalizing and it's making up for all that power that we drew when the alternator was off. So that plus amount is coming down. So there we have it. And obviously, if I turn my battery off, I would lose my radios, and I do want to communicate with ADC, so I won't do that. But that's pretty much something that you do on every single flight. When you're done with the flight, you turn the batteries off, and the whole system goes away. So it doesn't go away if you still have your standby battery on, but if you turn the standby off and the main battery off, then it all goes away. And that's pretty much what that does. So to summarize, again, I don't know what plane you're specifically flying, but they're pretty all similar. You have an alternator, which is the charging, is the thing that charges your battery. So think of the alternator as the power outlet in your house that charges your laptop. The laptop is our battery. The laptop is the airplane, and the airplane's battery, the laptop's battery, is our the battery master switch. That controls the battery. So we have an alternator, and we have a battery. The alternator charges the battery. In the event that we lost an alternator, and it no longer can charge our battery will keep providing us with power until the battery depletes. Was that 2365 for 15 Golf?
3365.
3365, 15 Golf. And approach station air 1215 Golf, level 9,500.
At 15 Golf, I was talking to a whole other aircraft. Standby, please. For your 660 affirmative, cross the 30 miles east of Fresno at maintain level 200.
Anyhow.
November 1215 Golf, dash approach air was altimeter 2983.
2983, 15 Golf. So we have an alternator that charges the battery. We have a battery which provides power to the system. If we lose the alternator, the battery won't shut off immediately. Remember, it still has juice of its own, and we need to deplete it, just like your laptop. And then in addition to that, we have a standby battery, which every time before we go fly, we test to make sure it has the sufficient amount of juice to provide us in the event that we need to rely on it. And then we place it in the arm position, which means that if we lose our main battery for whatever reason, we'll automatically transfer and start drawing from our standby battery. Really, that's all there is to it. And then these white switches here are the avionics buses, which we bring online separately once the engine is turning and the alternators are charging, because the avionics draw a really heavy load. And so we don't want to start the airplane and impose that big of a load on the alternators off the bat. So we sort of want to bring that online separately. Otherwise, I hope that covered for you this little corner in the flight deck here, and it's pretty universal from plane to plane. Your switches might look a little different, their positions might be a little different, but a plane's a plane's a plane, an electrical system's an electrical system's an electrical system. So I hope that makes sense for you. I got the buttons, the switches all back where I want them. My electrical system looks real good, and that's that. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, shoot me an email. I do my very best to cover any and all topics on these flights with my students, or just in general answering emails privately with people who reach out. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that clarified a little bit about the electrical system for you and really simplified it, because it's nothing too complicated. There's a charging device, there's a battery, and then some airplanes have a standby battery. And that's all there is to it. Real simple. So I hope that all makes sense. A little bit, nothing too in-depth about the electrical system. beautiful day out there. Got Mojave right up there to the right. And there we have it. There we have it. Solid. Let's see.
And Sequoia 660, you going to be able to make 200, 30 miles east of Fresno?
All right, all looks
all right,
good.
That descent before it gets over. All right, traffic, 11 o'clock, 20 miles northeastbound, flight level 300, climbing, heavy Airbus. Yeah, that will. Thank you.
All right, there's Edwards off my right. And this whole restricted here looks like they're... It's been real hot lately. In just a moment, I could even cut
traffic,
direct
about 3 o'clock, 3 to 4 o'clock.
To my next
10
waypoint.
miles westbound, flight level 296 descending, flight level 200.
Let's see what this looks like. If I go direct here, yeah, we're good. Look at that. Plane will turn right, and we'll track direct to my next waypoint. Absolutely solid. Nice little shortcut. All right, computer showing looks like ground speed is ground speed is 155 knots. And computer showing 27 minutes left to our flight should have us on the ground at 4:29 p.m. local time right over there. Nice and easy. Looks like the wind's pretty calm for what it has been up here at 9,500 feet. 7 knots of tail and 13 left crosswind.
Air 4 traffic, no factor.
Density altitude here at 9,500 feet is 11,514 feet. So my body right now feels as if we're hanging out at 11,500 feet above sea level on a standard day. But today, since it's not standard, the conditions that typically are found at 11.5 are found at 9.5. That's how non-standard the day is. It's non-standard by about 2,000 feet. And there we have it. We're on our way. Let's get some VNAV going here and see. I want to reach this waypoint, call it 4,000 feet. And so what I will do is go ahead and see when to begin a nice descent. Actually, what I'll do is I'll do procedures, select approach, visual, and we'll do, I won't yet do it because we'll probably be landing on 17, and that will put me through the restricted. So let's just do this, and we'll put 4,000 feet in here, and we'll do enter, and then I'll come down here and I'll tell it that I want it to descend at a nice 500 feet a minute. There we have it. And it's telling me top of descent 9 minutes and 34 seconds from now. So I'm happy, and there we have it. I'll go ahead and lower my floor. Oh, I accidentally disconnected autopilot. I'll go ahead and lower my floor. There we go. Just like that. And I'll go ahead and hit VNAV. So we have VPath in white, which is armed. And you could even see here, if I pull the VSD up and we zoom out, you can see that VNAV, I basically entered 4,000 feet at this waypoint. Top of descent is right over there. And you can also see the winds confirming the tailwind. Looks like 6 knots of tailwind. So nice and easy. Easy schmazoo. There we have it. There we have it. Perfect.
Finnair 4, contact Oakland Center 132.05, okay?
Open 13205, Finnair 4 Heavy. Thank you, ma'am. Good day.
Thank you, ma'am. Good day. Thank you, ma'am. Good day.
Tower 22 Yankee, contact approach 124.55.
Joshua Southwest 30.
Oh, bumpy out there.
390.
I'm sorry, I was trying to talk to Oakland. Say again?
Southwest 30, 37, 390.
All right, one more thing I want to talk about is reversionary mode. So in these glass cockpits in the G1000, if you lost that screen,
Also, we got a weak ELT on 20.
would that be the end of it? You don't have an attitude indicator? You don't have an airspeed indicator? So obviously we have our standby indicators, our standby instruments, which we could reference at all times. But if we lost our screen there, a little bumpy out here. If we lost our screen there, if you have flown a G1000 or watched some videos, you see this red little button over here, and it says next to it, it says display backup, this red button right over there. And so I want you to see what happens when I press it. So in the event that we have our PFD, maybe something went wrong, maybe someone threw a rock at your screen and it snapped it, or maybe just an internal component, or maybe it's background light isn't holding and you can't really see, whatever the reason might be. Check this out. When I press the red button, I want you to see what happens. So here we go. I press it. Boom, look at that. It throws the attitude indicator or the PFD information to the right. Now there's slight variation, little tiny difference. You can see the EIS system, the engine indicating system, right over here, this little page that shows the engine information, that remained on both screens, which is pretty cool. So it gives you the attitude, airspeed, altitude, heading, and all your good stuff, along with the map, as it usually does, but it moves the map from the left side of the screen to the right in order to accommodate this EIS system right over there. So this is pretty cool. We have the PFD, or the attitude instrument with the airspeed and altitude as you would have it there. You could switch it to this right here. So here I go, I press it again, and we're back to normal. See that? And that's it. So very easy. If a component fails on your PFD, let's say you're on your check ride and the DPE, the examiner, says, hey, what would you do if your PFD failed? Guess what? The answer is I always have my standby instruments. But we also have this little red handy button here. I press that, and I could throw my basically PFD info, if you want to think of it that way, over to the MFD side. And I could either duplicate it if both screens work, or if this screen goes out, I'm able to go ahead and put it right over here. So pretty cool. Not too bad. And there we have it. So reversionary mode, G1000, NXI, really handy tool, and just good to know, especially if you're flying IFR instrument, whatever it might be. You don't want to end up in the clouds without some good information. But of course, remember, we always have our standby instruments. We have our airspeed, attitude, and altitude, old school, right over here underneath. So I hope that makes sense. Real easy. Boom. And you just press it again. There we go. This red button right over there. Easy schmazoo. California City Airport is right under us right now. Cool little non-towered airport.
Romeo 39, descending for level 380.
802 Romeo, John, Book Avenue.
Cool little airport. California City. Let's see, looks like we have 20 minutes left to our flight. Should put us on the ground at 4:30 local time. There we go. Nice and easy schmazoo. All looks good. Top of descent is coming up in 3 minutes and 3 minutes exactly right now. Top of descent is 3 minutes from now. 2 minutes, actually it's fluctuating right over here. And the reason is the winds are changing, so our ground speed changes, and so the wind is jumping up and down. But about 2.5 minutes from now, we should begin our descent. So it looks like computer's showing again 19 minutes. So what I want to do, what I want to talk about right now for a few minutes is actually something that comes up a lot. A little bit of confusion about it, but it's really, really, really simple. And that is, there's more than 4, but I want to talk about, ooh, there's a cool lenticular, ooh, look at these lenticular clouds. I don't know if you can see out the window. Really cool. And that is the main big 4 types of airspeeds that we talk about in flight training. So again, if you're starting flight training or if you have been flight training and the airspeeds still confuse you, let me simplify it for you. We'll break them down together and we'll actually show why each airspeed shows what it shows. And we'll go ahead and hopefully put an end to the airspeed confusion once and for all. So the 4 airspeeds are the famous ones: indicated airspeed, calibrated airspeed, true airspeed, and ground speed. Indicated, calibrated, true, and ground. Let's start with indicated airspeed. Indicated airspeed is what?
Vertical track.
So my VNAV should begin a descent here in a minute. Indicated airspeed is nothing more and nothing less than the airspeed that is indicated on my airspeed indicator. So guess what? Here's my airspeed indicator, and that's my indicated airspeed. Right now, it's fluctuating 128 to 131. It's kind of going up and down as the winds are shifting. That's my indicated airspeed. Indicated airspeed is probably the easiest speed to understand. It's the speed that shows on my TV screen. That's it. It's the indicated, that's why it's called indicated airspeed. It's the speed that is indicated on my screen. Now, calibrated airspeed is where things get a little interesting. It's really, really simple, but people, for some reason, there's a little confusion about it. If we know a little bit about how indicated airspeed is generated, it's generated, let me see why. Look at that. Huh. Interesting. There we go. If we know anything about how indicated airspeed is generated, well, indicated airspeed is generated as a result of air molecules ramming through our pitot tube, put simply. So the more air molecules ram through the pitot tube, the higher of an indication will be generated or indicated on our airspeed indicator.
And November 2, Romeo cross 65.
Less air molecules ramming through it, the lower the indication. So that's indicated airspeed. So let's think about it for a second. The first part of a pitot tube is it's a mechanical device, and we know with any mechanical device, it's never going to be perfect. So there's going to be some amount of error that is associated or that is in existence between the pitot tube taking in those air molecules and the indicated airspeed generating that indicated airspeed indication.
November 5-1 golf, I need you to make a left turn immediately out of the rocket area. It's surface, just like level 370. Number 15 golf, turn left, heading at 250.
250, 15 golf.
15 golf, make that left turn immediately.
Left turn, 15 golf. She said 5-1 golf, and I wasn't sure what she was talking about. What was she saying?
Number 2, Romeo, confirm your direct land or a Thule?
going direct to Lando right now, 2 Romeo Romeo.
Let's see why she's turning me. And approach for 15 Golf. What was the left turn for again?
Left turn, make a left turn heading 250 out of the rocket area, sir.
Roger that. We're headed to Trona. Would we be able to proceed in a little bit?
Negative, sir. You're inside of the rocket area. Turn left heading 250 to get out of the rocket area, sir.
250. Any idea how long?
For the next 2 miles.
Roger that. 15 Golf.
2 Romeo Romeo, descend and maintain flight level, or clear direct Thule. That's not going to work. Clear direct Thule, then direct Fresno.
Okay, direct Thule, direct Fresno. And do we still have that same crossing restriction?
Let's see what will happen in 2 miles. Let's maintain 8,500, actually. Let's do that.
2 Romeo Romeo, if you can, no delays through flight level 300 for traffic.
All right, no problem. We'll hustle through 30 to maintain flight level 2002 Romeo Romeo.
Okay, that's a first. That's a new one. Okay, we'll see what happens here in a moment. Let's add some speed. We'll go back up to 8,500. There we go. Okay, so calibrated airspeed, as we know with the pitot tube, it's a mechanical device.
15 Golf, in 1 mile, you can fly heading 340 for 5 miles, then proceed on course.
All right, at 1 mile, 340 for 5, and then proceed on course, 1215 Golf.
The 2 Romeo Romeo, amend altitude, descend and maintain flight level 220, traffic 12 o'clock. 30 miles opposite direction, carrier flight level 210.
Okay, flight level 220, 2 Romeo Romeo.
All right, there's 340 for 5 miles. 27.8, so when that thing shows 23 miles, I'll proceed on course. Or actually,
here, 0 Golf Tango, traffic 12 o'clock, 20 miles opposite direction, flight level 320, descending at flight level 0.
All right, we're looking 0 Golf Tango.
This is a great reminder why flight following through MOAs is essential, absolutely essential. A little windy and bumpy. So with calibrated airspeed, it's a mechanical device, but also if we think about it, the pitot tube is fixed to the airplane. So what that means is if I'm flying straight, then the pitot tube is pointing straight. But check this out, we know that in an airplane, think of slow flight, I could point up but move straight. Or I could crab into the wind but move this way through the air. So unlike a car in an airplane, we could point and move in 2 different directions if we think about it. So we already have a problem that's cooking up over here. And the problem is this. Well, if I move and point in the same direction, then my pitot tube is moving and pointing in the same direction. Therefore, the oncoming air, which we call relative wind, its air molecules are ramming into my pitot tube head on, because my plane or pitot tube is pointing straight into the wind that I'm flying through. But what happens if I'm moving and pointing in different directions? Now the relative wind is not hitting my pitot tube head on. It's hitting my fuselage, or it's hitting the side of the pitot tube, or it's hitting under it. Therefore generating an indication that is not completely accurate. Because if we had the ability to move the pitot tube to point straight towards the relative wind, opposite and parallel to our flight path, our indication would be different. So calibrated airspeed is this. It's indicated airspeed, plus it takes into account that error that comes along with the airplane not being pointed directly into the relative wind. The POH breaks it down in the airspeed calibration chart into flaps and no flaps in the various flap settings. And the reason is our pitch attitude changes drastically at a given airspeed with a given flap setting. And there's 5, and I could proceed on course, and I'll go to nav. Our pitot tube, or our pitch attitude, changes drastically with flap settings at different airspeeds. So the POH breaks it down into calibrated and indicated along with various flap settings for that exact reason, because in an airplane we could point and move in different directions. So one thing I'll say about calibrated airspeed, when you come in to land with a forward slip to landing, have you ever done that? And you maintain that indicated airspeed on your screen that you always do, but then when you straighten the plane out, you float it halfway down the runway? Why is that? The answer is you were going much faster through the air than your screen was telling you. And the reason your screen was lying to
Number
you...
2, Romeo, contact Los Angeles Center, LA Center.
The reason your screen was lying to you was because because the pitot tube was not pointing directly into the relative wind, because your plane was pointing there, but moving this way towards the runway. And remember, the pitot tube is fixed to the airplane, and it moves when the plane moves. So next time you forward slip into landing, maintain a speed of about 5 knots or so slower than your typical approach speed on the screen, and that way when you straighten out, you won't float halfway down the runway. So that's a little bit about calibrated airspeed. True airspeed refers to the actual speed I'm flying through an air mass. So right now, the air all around me is an air mass, and within it, there's air molecules that I'm flying through. Air masses are made up of different properties, different temperatures, different pressures. So within each given air mass, at a given temperature and pressure, let me get a nice descent here. Every single air mass is made up of different properties. Some air masses have higher pressure, some have low. And what that does to the air molecules is some air masses have the air molecules closer to each other, it's more dense, and some have it further away from each other. It's less dense. So check this out. Let's bring it back to the beginning where we talked about indicated airspeed. If indicated airspeed is a speed that is generated on our screen as a result of air molecules ramming through our pitot tube, well, let's think about it this way. We have 2 air masses. One air mass has high density, high pressure. Another air mass is lower density, low pressure. The air mass with the high density, high pressure has the air molecules closer to each other. The air mass with the low density, lower pressure has the air molecules further away. Okay. Now we need to fly through the air to maintain, say, 100 knots. In which of these air masses would I have to actually move faster through the air mass to hit enough air molecules through my pitot tube to generate 100 knots? In the air mass that has the air molecules closer to each other or further away? The answer is, in the air mass that has the air molecules further apart, less dense, I'd have to fly faster through the air mass in order to ram into enough of those molecules to generate the 100-knot indication. But if I flew through the air mass that had a higher density, higher pressure, the air molecules are closer together, I can get away with flying slower through that air mass, moving slower through the air mass, while still generating a 100-knot indication, because the air molecules are closer to each other, so I could go slower and yet hit enough of them through my pitot tube. And that is why we have a difference between indicated and true, because they're not every air mass means, not every indicated airspeed means I'm flying the same speed through the air. So if I only had indicated, I wouldn't know really how fast I'm flying. And if I only had true, I wouldn't be able to control the airplane properly, well, if I had an angle of attack indicator. But the reason we have the indicated airspeed is because it keeps things constant. Every single landing is done at the same speed. Every single takeoff, same speed. No matter where or what density altitude I'm operating out of, because it's compensated for by either an increase or a decrease in true airspeed. So here's true airspeed. True airspeed is the speed I fly through an air mass, hitting those air molecules to ram them through my pitot tube to generate a given indicated. So the last thing I'll say about true,
November 0 Golf Tango contact.
To wrap it up,
132.5.
any given flight, when you take off and climb up to altitude, at altitude, as the higher up you go, are the air molecules closer to each other or further apart? The answer is the air is less dense, they're further apart. So what that means is if you're climbing and maintaining a constant indicated airspeed, The higher up you go, guess what happens to your true? You must increase your true airspeed more and more and more and more in order to maintain that same rate of hitting the air molecules as you fly higher and higher into less dense air. So I hope that relationship, that connection between what true airspeed is and what indicated airspeed is makes sense to you. And I also hope that the relationship between indicated and calibrated makes sense to you. I hope these things are simplifying in your head a little bit. Now the final speed that we'll talk about right now is ground speed. Now ground speed, I said before, indicated is the easiest one to wrap your head around.
Vertical track.
Because all it is the speed that your TV is showing you, which is right here. Ground speed is also easy to wrap your head around. And all the ground speed is it's the speed that your airplane is moving over the ground. That's all it is. So what that means is if your friend was on the ground looking up and you were flying over them, ground speed is the speed at which you flew over them, you passed them by. So the question is, well, isn't that true airspeed? So the answer is yes and no. Ground speed and true airspeed are the same exact speed when there's no wind either pushing you or holding you back, pushing against you.
Number 15 Golf, change to my frequency 120.25.
120.25, 15 Golf. And approach 15 Golf with you.
15 Golf, roger, tail nickel 2969.
2969 or 15 Golf. Ground speed and true airspeed are the same when there's no wind, meaning there's no headwind or tailwind. True airspeed and ground speed change when there's a headwind or tailwind. So when I have a tailwind pushing me along, my true airspeed stays what it is, right? Because that's how fast I'm actually flying through the air mass. But I'm moving over the ground at a faster rate.
1922 Joshua,
because while within the air mass I'm moving at the same true, the air mass with me in it is moving over the ground. So now not only is the plane moving in the air mass, but the air mass with the plane moving in it is moving over the ground. So when your friend looks up and sees you flying over them with a tailwind, they can't see the air mass because it's invisible, but imagine this. Imagine the air mass being a balloon and the plane being inside the balloon. True airspeed is how fast I'm flying through the balloon. Ground speed is how fast the balloon with me in it is tracking over the ground with a tailwind or a headwind. So with a headwind, it's the opposite. When I have a headwind, it's holding me back. So I'm flying through the balloon, but the balloon is coming towards me, flying backwards a little bit, so now my ground speed decreases by the amount of headwind. So I hope these four little airspeeds, I don't know why I said little, but I hope these four airspeeds make a little better sense to you right now than they did before. Indicated airspeed is what my screen shows. Calibrated airspeed is what my screen shows if there were no error in this mechanical device, but really also it corrects, it makes up for that error that results due to my pitot tube being fixed to my airplane. And as we know in a plane, a few examples off the top of my head: forward slip to a landing, different flap settings at different airspeeds, as well as slow flight. All these different pitch attitudes and slips result in the airplane, or even wind correction angle, great example, result in a plane pointing and moving in different directions. And that results in the air molecules not ramming head-on into the pitot tube. So there's an error that is generated as a result of that. True airspeed is literally how fast I'm moving through the air mass, ramming into the air molecules. So when an air mass with the air molecules are further apart, I have to fly faster to maintain a given indicated. In an air mass where the air molecules are closer together, I can get away flying slower. And finally, ground speed. There's 4,000 coming up. And finally, let's maintain 45. And finally, ground speed is how fast I'm actually moving over the ground, either with the air mass's movement as well, or against it, depending if there's headwinds or tailwinds. The last thing I'll say about this with the true and indicated, when I say an air mass that's air molecules are further away from each other, think of landing at a high density altitude airport in the mountains. The air molecules are further apart, but guess what speed you maintain on landing? Same indicated airspeed that you would maintain at sea level. But at high density altitude, in order for your plane to maintain that same amount of air molecules ramming through the pitot tube, the same rate to maintain lift or flight at that high density altitude, because the air molecules are so far apart, I have to move so much faster through the air mass to hit them fast enough to generate that indicator. And that's why your ground speed or ground roll landing distance is much higher, both on landing and takeoff at a high density altitude airport. So I hope it all makes sense, the different airspeeds. Nothing too complicated. Watch this video again and again and again if you have to. But there you have it. 4 airspeeds: indicated, calibrated, true, and ground. Nothing too insane. And next time you're in your plane, actually look at the numbers. So we're 108 indicated, we're 120 true, so we're actually moving through the air mass at 120 knots, ramming into enough air molecules to generate 110 knots, and we have a tailwind of 27 knots, which results in our ground speed being 147, 146. And there you have it. Airspeeds. And that's about that. I hope that all makes sense. Okay, I'm sure runway 17 is in use. There we are. Let's put 22-9er. And we'll switch to that in a moment. And then what I'll do is procedures, select approach, and 17.
Number 1 off top of contact, Los Angeles Center 124.62.
And there we go. Now the plane will turn to that waypoint. There we have it. Actually, what I'll do is that I'll go to heading mode to do left traffic. And the pattern is 2700. There's the airport. I'll go ahead and descend to 27. And approach 1215 Golf, looking for frequency change.
Vertical track.
15 operator, search for spot VFR.
VFR, thanks, have a nice day, 1215 Golf. There we go, there we go. All right, there's our descent. All looks good. Solid. And we'll do procedures and activate vectors to final for situational awareness. And there's the final approach course right there. And we'll do left traffic for 17. Front traffic, white Cessna is 10 to the south. Make left traffic 17, full stop, Trona. There we are. 1200 on the beacon. And we're good to go. All right, lights come on. Cowl flaps are, let's open them for landing. And prophet mixture will come in a little bit. And we should be good to go. Nice day out. All right, there's 35. Hope you guys enjoyed this semi-quick flight from Torrance to Trona. Look at that, Death Valley. This thing sits in a bowl with MOAs and restricteds. But hopefully you guys got an idea of how important flight following is through these places. You're always on with them and you hear what's going on. Toronto traffic, White Cessna is 4 to the south, make left traffic 17, full stop, Toronto. All right, there's 32 for 27. There's the airport right down there. And all looks good. I expect it to be nice and hot out. All right, there we go. There we are. Toronto traffic, White Cessna is left down 17, full stop, Toronto. All right, looks like I have 18 knots of tailwind, which tells me that my guess was good to land on 17. So we'll see what wind I have on the nose as we get down closer. And there we have it. Welcome to Death Valley. Here we go. All right. All right, there we go. We'll go flaps 10, prop comes forward, and tail flaps are open. All right. Flaps 20. Toronto traffic, White Cessna turning left base, 17, full stop, Toronto. Nice and easy. Toronto traffic, White Cessna turning final, 17, full stop, Toronto. Uh, 13 knots on the nose. Bleed off all the energy. And we're down. Keep that nose off the ground. Pretty much a soft field here every time. Wheelie, 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 wheelie. And nose wheels on the ground, yoke all the way back. Maintain center line. And there we have it. Welcome to Trona. Welcome to Trona, California. All right. Clear left, clear right. All right, we'll get her turned around. There we go. Alright, shutdown. AC comes off. Flaps are up. Cowl flaps, trims, that's good. Everything's good. Here comes the lights. Perfect. Alright, you guys, hope you enjoyed the flight. Welcome to Trona, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Here we go.